ZZ'Rot Trundle. Oh, feels good. So, alright, so because you're new to the stream, let me explain to you why I'm going these items. Why, Stretch, why in the world would you ever build these items on Trundle? They make no sense. The key to this build is this. Trundle does a fantastic job in lane at staying alive, but the current meta has a large amount of damage. Ornn, Jace, Gangplank. If you let Teemo through, Teemo can mess up your day too. Evelynn jungle. Pretty much anything that's going to arrive in the top lane does so much damage, but Trundle is a champion who, surprisingly enough, is really good at escaping that damage. So, what I thought to do is create a build that allows you to not only survive that damage, but then heal back to full while still getting your farm. So what I've been doing is I've been opening the game with a Doran's Shield, which allows me to heal after I take any poke from the enemy, and then I also take Second Wind in my runes. By doing that, I give myself a huge amount of healing whenever the enemy chooses to trade with me, and then a lot of the time I just let the minions take care of the damage trading back. So what you do is you take a hit, and then you're gaining an enormous amount of health back before you even factor in Trundle's passive. Trundle's passive stacked onto that healing in lane means that you become extremely difficult to poke out of the lane. But the problem with Trundle is he doesn't have any hard engage to set your team up. So what you do is you build a ZZ'Rot portal, and the additional movement speed that you get out of that item allows you to not only get into fights, but maneuver around them once you're inside of them. Because within our games, within at least Gold Elo, a lot of those fights are happening inside of the mid lane, and therefore you can take advantage of the point runner passive a large amount of the time. Not only that, but I don't know if you've done this before, but building Raptor Cloak is a huge boon to your laning phase. It allows you to mitigate so much damage because it's got 125 base regen on that item while still giving you 30 armor and the movement speed off Point Runner. It's a great substitute if you can't buy something meaningful right away, and it still allows you to get back into the lane and allows you to sustain the enemy's poke really, really well. So getting the Raptor Cloak early on against AD is extremely strong. But if you're against AP, all you have to do is build yourself a Spectre's Cowl on top of your Doran's Shield, and the enemy has an extremely hard time taking you out because of your Second Wind and because of your Trundle passive. The regen build in Trundle in the top lane is some of the, it feels so solid when it's going correctly. All you have to do is make sure that you're able to hit your first power spike on a Tiamat for wave control, and then build whatever resistance you need to combat your lane opponent. After you've got that done, you just finish off whatever your regen item is and move on to more tank items. Tiamat stays relevant throughout the entirety of the game, and then on your ending build, you can build it into a Titanic Hydra for additional tankiness. And then if you're going to go ZZ'Rot Portal like I do, all you have to do is drop the portal down either when you're there to guard it and take a turret, or when you're going to go regroup with your team on an objective, and then it'll keep pushing the lane for you. The person who needs to respond to that ZZ'Rot portal guarantees that your team has a team fight opportunity somewhere else on the map, as long as you're in position with them and you can catch someone out at pillar. A ZZ'Rot portal usage should mean a summoner spell blown by the enemy, as long as you're playing aggressively enough. So all you have to do is make sure you get out of lane phase in a solid manner, get your ZZ'Rot or your other resistance item built up, and look for picks with your pillar. Pillar is a fantastic move for catching people out, especially tanks, because tanks position really far forward and they feel really confident. But of course, Trundle has Subjugate, which makes tanks a lot more squishy. So if you're able to catch a tank out even, that's super good for you, especially because, once again, your passive will heal you for a large amount if that target does go down. So there's a lot. I'm seeing a lot of potential here with Trundle. The one thing I will say is I've been banning Nasus when I've been playing it, and the reason is I don't think that Trundle outsustains Nasus, especially when it comes to the late game, and he doesn't do enough to stop Nasus from killing your team. The two-shot out of the top lane just off auto attacks is a little bit too strong, but pretty much anything else you can do a good job with. So That's the reason why I've been playing Trundle so much, is because when you're facing an Alawi, when you're facing, you know, a Jace, a Teemo, something that's got all that ranged poke that you don't want to deal with, Trundle's the perfect champion to mitigate that damage, and then you get the double bonus of being able to become tankier than the enemy tank guaranteed in team fights. So I think that in the current meta, Trundle's actually a solid pick, especially against when champions like Ornn are running around. If you force Ornn to keep cutting through your life over and over again on Trundle, there's almost no way that you die in that matchup, just because you can get so much healing back, and he just has to keep using his moves. Now, if he goes mana, he might be able to spam his way through it, but that's all about it. It's a lot of thought put into that build. I tried it one time on this first game, and I saw how effective Raptor Cloak was, and I decided to make a build around it. But yeah, so far it's been really successful, at least in like upper Goldie lows.